Texas Heat, what's up? It's your boy. Thought I would go on ahead and do a new radio show since the one last night, for some reason, having sound issues with that. Um, gonna try to go through this pretty quick. I'm gonna try to cover as much of this as I can within the league itself, but just go through a little bit as far as the standings, who's doing what, kind of how I see the league right now, and pretty much if you saw last night, this is a similar breakdown. Um, just gonna do it again, and hope this one will save, and everybody be able to witness it and go from there. Alrighty, guys. So really quick, just gonna jump over to the weekly standings. Actually, just this week's schedule. We spoke a little bit last night on who we thought would win and or lose games for this week. Um, Still a lot of games that are left. Of course, this is day 2 when it comes to the advance itself, and we want to try to respect that. So, um, respect that. Everybody still got some time. Friday we will advance. The advance on Friday will be a little bit later, but it will be Friday. I do know there's guys in the league that have had some scheduling issues for themselves. It's just a part of it. It's kind of how this works sometimes. Sometimes you're gonna have, schedule conflict. You shouldn't have schedule conflict all the time, though. And I do feel like we have some guys in the league that struggle with that. It's just a part of it. I get it, but hopefully this is something that we can get resolved. As you can see right now, I'm just going to fix the sound of the music in the background. Just trying to remove it completely. But yeah, this show will be talking about this week's schedule, the current stat leaders for the league. We're going to talk about Corey's discipline for his terrible decision making, because that is what happened. Corey made a terrible decision, and we're also discussing the standings, NFC and AFC, MVP race, and give y'all my perspective on who's going to be what or going to be where by the time season ends. So again, if you've heard the show last night, this is just going to be the same breakdown pretty much all over again. Only difference is this one's just going to have a little bit extra information. Probably the only difference is that when I archive this one, it'll actually save, so everybody will be able to hear it. But yeah, so looks like there were some games that were already played this week. Looks like there were some that were played last night. Definitely see a few guys that are kind of staying on track. I think the game of the week happened with the Falcons and Cardinals. It turned out to actually not be the game of the week. The score ended up being a blowout. I didn't see that coming. I didn't think that the Cardinals would. I didn't think he had the team to really hold on to play against Octavius himself with those Falcons. I think the users are pretty close when it comes to just competitive nature, but sometimes you just run into, a guy on the same level with a better team is just going to be hard to beat. But yeah, so just going to give you all a breakdown of who I think is going to win each game. I don't really have necessarily reason into why on some of them, but give you a perspective. My game with the Giants, I hope I pull that game out. He is a very tough player, but I think I will win that game. The Panthers and Bucks, I still don't know a whole lot about the Panthers. He barely says anything at all in the league. I think he's played the last two games. Um, he's lost both of those games. Bucks is actually a decent player. He's just lost some games against some really good players. Bucks wins that game. Of course, Fred is about to mess around and get his first, I think, win of the season. I think he's 0-4-1. So Fred will get that game. Eagles and Vikings, if they play, um, I think Luke. I'm gonna switch it from what I said last night. Luke does win this game, and Herman takes an L. We do see Texans and Chiefs had a close game, and Jags is doing what he's continued to do, and that is blow people out. Hasn't really had a significant opponent yet, or someone that's going to be consistent through four quarters, but he's been playing, been consistent. So I definitely got to put him up there with those, with that top five, top six users in the league right now. He's definitely showing that he's playing to get that Super Bowl and win that pot. That's for sure. Seahawks and Browns. That's my little brother and Tristan. I'm gonna give Tristan this game. I think Kevin's gonna battle him just because when you play somebody personally, it's always a tough game, especially league play. Everything's personal. Every play within the game is personal itself. So Browns is gonna win this game. Seahawks will play him tough. Bengals and Ravens. I think Nick Adams is having a similar season as Ravens owner and Jeremy. Nobody expected Jeremy to be 1-4. Did think he'd do better than what he is now, but at the end of the day, that 1-4 is where it stands. But I think he pulls this game out. I don't think Nick Adams is going to be able to contain Lamar Jackson like um, Jeremy's previous opponents. So we'll go from there. I do think that Jeremy wins this game. Colton wins this game. I know he's 2-2, but so far his first few opponents have been top guys, um, and they've all been very close games. The Rams isn't one of them. Fernando's going to lose this game. Colton takes this one by a long shot. If these two play, I think I said last night that School would win. It's not going to happen. The Jets will pull this game out if they actually get this game in, which their schedules conflict. They both have a schedule conflict, so we'll see how that works out. Titans and Broncos. Of course, Corey pulled his game out. Corey has quietly won some games this year. And, of course, this game they're going to have to recreate. They don't necessarily have to recreate the game. Honestly, if I'm going to give an honest perspective, I think Justin wins this game. And ultimately, Justin had the ball a minute and 42 seconds left on Mr. Morris's 20-yard line. If he kicks a field goal, he's already up a touchdown. He kicks a field goal and makes it. He's going to be up by 10. Marcus gets if Marcus gets the football, doesn't really matter. If he goes down and scores, he still has the onside kick. And then again, I don't know how many timeouts he had. There's a lot of things that could play into that. This is kind of really between them. Lions and Packers, of course, Chuck's definitely going to win this game. So yeah, let's go over to the stats leader report and look at where everybody's currently sitting as far as stat-wise in the league. Who's doing what with their players. Of course, yeah, I'm sitting up there, as you can see, just from switching over from different screens. I'm sitting up there right now with Tom Brady. We're not number one though, but we're at the top, and it looks like the Jags with Nick Foles. It's funny, he was actually trying to trade Nick Foles heavily, and now Foles is sitting number one in the league when it comes to the passing touchdowns, passing yards, and almost he's not too far when it comes to interceptions as well. So, you got to look for those flaws in people's games. Sometimes those stats will be stellar, and then on another side, not so much. And then, of course, Octavius with Matt Ryan, myself with Tom Brady, Tristan with Baker, pretty much everybody that's up here right now, you know, Justin, in the hunt with all of that. His stats haven't been recorded yet because their game is going to be a recreate, but all that right now, the guys that are up here, what I'm pretty much used to seeing, Nick Foles, or new guy Brady. That's kind of a new face person with that. I'm not used to seeing Brad up here, so that's new. And then rushing yards, of course, everybody has seen it. Travis Jackson is running over everyone, it seems, with Saquon. So definitely got to pay attention to that man, and when me and him play. Let's see, Lamar Miller's not too far back, and um, you know, you see a different set of guys over here. Except, there goes Fournette, Brady's, so he's holding on offense. He's doing something decent on offense. But you see a different set of guys on this side when it comes to rushing versus passing. And then the receiving yards currently in the league, Odell's sitting at the top, which, yeah, not surprising. I'm going to tell you all, it's not surprising to me if you have a guy with an X factor trait. I'm not surprised if they're sitting at the top when it comes to stats on this Madden, because once they hit that X Factor logo, it's all red or orange rather. There's no stopping them. I mean, it's just what it is. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I kind of thought about maybe taking the X Factor aspect out of the game, but it is what it is, and that's just how we're going to go forward. So you see Odell, Michael Thomas, and look, every single one of these guys are pretty much X Factor except Josh Gordon and Ridley. But X Factor, X Factor, X Factor guy. Not an X Factor, but a star. Um, not an. I don't know if Ridley has an X Factor. I don't think he does. Julio, X Factor. So top guys are definitely X Factor guys in that aspect. Um, Jumping over to defense, the solo tackle aspect, and you can see the solo tackle is really hard to break down. That's actually a really good number for a defensive end. To have a defensive end to be ranked in the top when it comes to tackles, that's impressive right now. It also shows that for some reason people are actively not scared of Myles Garrett, and he's actively making plays. So, um, but of course, total tackles itself, Deion Jones is up there. Um, you have Bubba Baker, free safety for the Saints. Different. You just see different guys up here that are kind of holding weight. Just really talk about the top three. Um, yeah, I got Shaquille Barrett up there, who I just got the trade from the Bucks. So and then this is the big number everybody pays attention to. Khalil Mack, not surprising, 14 sacks. Myles Garrett, not surprising. What's surprising about these numbers is how many games we've played so far with the numbers. We're on what, week 6, and there's 3 guys that are basically 7 sacks away from tying the NFL record. Week 6. I mean, it's just crazy what Madden stats are versus real life. Interceptions, also a big number. Greedy Williams. How you got Greedy Williams? I believe he was on the Giants. I believe. I'm not sure what team he's on in real life, but Greedy Williams is shining right now. Desmond King. It's funny. A few of these names that I saw last night that are on the stats for interceptions are all guys that people have attempted to trade. So just interesting to me. Forced fumbles. Who's been a hit stick god this year? And of course, Landon Collins with 8. I got to tell you, Redskins, it's really surprising to me that you have 8 forced fumbles with Landon Collins. Just the stats that you have with your team so far, and to not have a single win. I don't know. No, it's just interesting. All that's really interesting to me. But that's the current stats when it comes to player specific. Corey's just wanted to break down a little bit of Corey's discipline. If y'all don't know, in the weekly schedule last week, he had a game where he went 75 points to 11. Here's the issue with that. It is not that he scored 75 points. It's the fact that he scored 34 points in the fourth quarter. If you score that many points in the fourth quarter, that tells me that at no point in time did you attempt to lay off the ball. So, being that we do have a set of blowout, a discipline, a set out for each time you break a rule, I'll be reaching out to you, Corey, tell you what your discipline is for your next game, and we will go from there. I tell everyone that tries to fight me or appeal the rule, you don't have to accept it. You know your option. Um, Friends, family, foe, we're going to be a straight up league. Everyone follow the rules. It's just how it works. Um, so let's jump over to the current standings in the league. Where does everyone sit? And just giving you guys a perspective of who I think is going to do what by the end of the season. Again, and the show may seem a little sped up or a little rushed. I realized the last one didn't save last night. Wanted to give you guys at least something to kind of have a breakdown from. Um, let's see. So Herman is 3-2, Packers is 3-2, Bears is 2-3. I think we discussed last night or came to the conclusion Herman will win this division. I think he has to play both of them again once, and I don't think he's lost in the division yet. 2 wins. Yep, he hasn't lost in the division. Chuck is 1-1, and the Bears hasn't won a game yet. So he has to play them again. I think he'll win his division pretty easy, but I do think Chuck has a chance as far as the playoffs. NFC South, again, division is a wash. Said it from the beginning. This division looks a lot like mine. He's 6-0, undefeated. Um, he's not going to lose to anybody in his division, and we'll just go from there. I don't see either one of these guys turning it around for the long haul to ultimately pull out an incredible comeback and get into the playoffs. Falcons is in the playoffs as long as he continues to play in the league with that team. Um, or heck, if he switches teams within that division, he's still going to take that division. NFC East, a little bit more complicated. You got 3-1, 3-2, and School's not technically out of it at 2-3. I just think that it's going to be between the Giants and Eagles. I think those two both make the playoffs if they both play the rest of their games. And I'm just basing that off of the current prediction sheet that I have made. That I will try to get out to everybody in the Excel sheet soon. But it does look like 3-1, 3-2. Hopefully they both make the playoffs because I would like to see that competitive aspect that shows up in the playoffs. I really hate to see guys make the playoffs that I know are going to lose. So we'll definitely see. But I think the Giants pulls this division out for sure. NFC West. I've mentioned last night, as I mentioned today, Cardinals looks great right now at 5-1. His schedule is about to flip, where the 49ers schedule started off, two pretty easy games and two extremely tough games to start out. Cardinals just had his first loss against the Falcons, so he's definitely about to face the back end of his schedule. I believe he still has to play the 49ers twice. He has the Browns. He has, I think, the Jags. I mean, he has a few tough games to finish out. Not saying that he can't beat those people. I'm just saying the tough part of his schedule is about to begin. Games that I thought were going to be tough for him in the beginning, like when he played the Ravens and all those guys, Turned out to be the exact opposite because currently the Ravens is 1-4. I don't know what's going on with Jeremy, but that's just what it is. He's 1-4 right now, so we'll see. Again, uh, I don't see Colton losing maybe one more game, if that, but he'll be in the playoffs. So now that I say that, with these two, I think they both. I don't think you can go 10-6 in the NFC and make the playoffs. Because if you notice, I've mentioned at least three guys so far within the NFC that I think will make it, but not win their division. So I don't think 10-6 will get you into the playoffs. And honestly, I don't even think 12-4 will do it either. I think 13-3 is the number. So, but we'll see. Division based, we'll see. Uh, you know, I think Seahawks and Rams decent guys. My brother and Fernando, but they're they got two dogs sitting right on top of them, and I just don't think they'll be enough to beat those guys. AFC North, a little more competitive, similar to the NFC East. Two guys that are really fighting for the division. Two guys that are pretty much out of it. Um, two guys, or one guy that made some interesting trades. Thought those trades were really going to boost his offense, and seems to be playing against him a little bit. And that's how it happens sometimes. Sometimes you make trades that just don't work out as far as you know to wins and losses. I mean that's just a part of it. But um, both of these guys definitely make the playoffs. I do think that Tristan pulls this division out. It's it's really hard to say because they're both playing really well. I'm going to have to look at their schedules and see really who's going to do what in the end, or who they have left to play. That's going to be a challenging game. Um, I think Tristan will be the one that pulls this division out, but it's very easy to say Justin will as well. They're both 4-1. It comes down to their schedule, honestly. Um, that's really what's going to be the difference. And um, yeah, but they'll both be in the playoffs for sure. AFC South, I said it earlier. Corey is quietly winning games. Hopefully, this discipline that I lay on his head doesn't completely knock him out of the playoff race itself, or put him in a position where he doesn't lose games. But he's quietly winning games, sitting at 4-2. He's definitely not out of the playoff race. But let me tell y'all, the AFC is. Wait till we get over to the Chiefs division, and you'll see why I think the AFC is probably the most competitive as far as making the playoffs right now. Jags is a lock for the playoffs. That's why I don't have much to say. He's been playing well. I mean, his points for versus points against is ridiculous. Again, these are some semi-blowout games that don't have to happen. That I've said it before, um, but I've watched his games, and the games that he's gotten up in the fourth quarter, he hasn't actually sat there and tried to blow people out. Um, he's chewing clock. He's trying to end the game. We should move on or whatever. Guys are just attempting to try to score, whatever it is. So, um, again, Texans just played decent. Um, you know, he's gotten hit a few games that ran into some tough opponents. But I don't think he's gotten blown out necessarily. Maybe had one game that was a blowout with the Jags, but other than that, that's pretty much it. Jags and Titans definitely take this division. Um, well, Jags takes this division. Titans on the fence when it comes to making the playoffs. AFC East, it's my division. Don't know why. Every year I get the easiest division. Last year I had the Browns. The um, year before that I had the Falcons. Like, don't know why, but for some reason nobody wants to get in my division. And the crazy thing is, I'm not the best player in this league. I'm not even. Heck, I could argue that I'm not even a top 5 player. But again, somehow, some way, I get the easiest division, and So I'm really not worried about my division for the remainder of these Madden years, unless guys start to quit or whatever happens. But I'm taking the division. Jets is still right there. He's only 2-2. It's also all about him playing his games. And then this right here, 4-1, which will be 4-2 for the Chargers. Uh, the Chiefs 4-2, Raiders 4-1. I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you who's going to win this division. Um, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably say the Raiders. Um, just because he has the easier schedule to finish out. Chargers is about to get a little bit harder. Chiefs isn't that tough of a schedule. It's not necessarily easy either. So we'll see. But this is definitely a tough division to figure out. If I would have to guess, I would say Raiders would pull this division out, and Chiefs makes the playoffs. And Chargers is right on the cusp. So, guys, that's the breakdown of the current standings in our league. The something that I haven't done in a while was look at the weekly awards. Looks like for week 5, uh, Justin James and Tristan both have players sitting out of the AFC, and the Falcons completely took over the NFC. Week 4, the Saints I'm sorry, Ben and Drew Brees just had a day, even though he did get sacked a few times. And then the Bucks, of course, making it as well, and then the Jags and Chargers for the AFC. So ridiculous stats for Nick Foles. Just the fact that he's doing that with Nick Foles, I mean, definitely a solid player. So, um, but yeah, so that's pretty much the breakdown as far as weekly awards. I did want to let everybody know there will be an Excel sheet that comes out. We will have um, those predictions, that prediction breakdown, give you guys a perspective as to um, where I think you're going to be by the end of the season itself. I just wanted to put out there the trade deadline is coming up soon. So, whatever trades you're trying to make, whatever decisions you're trying to make when it comes to your team, try to get that squared away because that is coming soon. And just don't want anybody trying to make last second moves because it's not happening. So, trade deadline's coming soon. I'll send out a message to kind of prepare everybody for it, but it is coming soon. Um, Other than that, man, that's pretty much all I had. I just wanted to make sure that I did put something out there for you guys. Like I said, I didn't. I don't know why the show didn't save last night, or not saved. I don't know why the sound wasn't working on it last night. Hopefully this one does, and ultimately, I hope that everybody's enjoying the season so far, and ultimately enjoying playing with each other. Um, just staying competitive and keeping this thing going for sure. But other than that, man, I hope y'all are, enjoying the rest of y'all's day. And I do hope that anybody that has any questions, if you're struggling with Madden play, trying to figure out some plays to call, figuring out how some stuff to do on defense, offense, whatever it is, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always about making people better. Um, I don't like seeing the same guys win all the time. Uh, I don't even like being undefeated or even in the position of being undefeated because I know I'm not that good. Nobody in the league to me is unbeatable. There's no such thing as that. If you were unbeatable, then I'd be watching you on TV or on the EA Madden Sports. So, um, learn the game, figure out ways to get better, compete, enjoy playing with each other, um, and then yeah, let's keep this thing going. Advance is Friday night. Advance is Friday night, and I'll say it again for the people in the back. The advance is Friday night. Y'all have a good day, and we'll chop it up soon. now she out like a light switch. Put her legs in the air like a pilot. And why summertime where the vibes is. Thursdays I show love out in Dykeman. Westside hit a knock, but they like this. Show Kelly some love only right. No, I can't fall in love, not my type. Even play with the flu like I'm Mike. Scoreboard on my boots like Jordan is. Up like an ornament, cash in the audience. Money bags on the way like I ordered it. Bills green like Forrests, tough like Chuck Norris's. New hunters, they sick, they blue. Peel the top back, I rip off my roof. Couldn't walk an inch in my soup. Got my cash in rotation, loop. I took a deal just to beat that indictment. My New York grapes let me sightsee a indictment. I got some scrapes from DR, now they dyke it. Before we I tell her, let me see they license. It's like this, cause we fighting cases. Had to take a deal just to see snowfall. I ain't really get too far past station, dropping dope on. Flights to the east side, get money. Flights to the west side, stay 100. You can see this drip when I walk. Luke, this a boss when I talk. I mac down, spin the bag in Philippe. CYN took your girl, that's for keeps. Yeah, that's facts, take your girl when we wanna. If I pass to the game. Tell me this is not a crazy number. 5 QB sacks, and then you flip it. 40. That's amazing. It's just amazing how the difference is in Madden. If she come to the crib, she ain't gonna. Crystal Star got no keys, that's a foreign. Since young, CYN been the same game. Stay low and stack low and just maintain. I get money in my gang, do the same thing. Gold rollie, white face, that plain Jane. Count checks, I stack up like Eiffel. My wrist on ice, VVs, dance like Michael. Might just go blind, my lady don't like you. She not too nice, we get paid to fly to Paris, Dubai. Just to beat that indictment. My New York grapes let me sightsee a indictment. I got some scrapes from DR, now they dyke it. Before we I tell her, let me see they license. It's like this, cause we fighting cases. Had to take a deal just to see snowfall. I ain't really get too far past station, dropping dope on. Flights to the east side, get money. Flights to the west side, stay 100.